Good morning, this is Mrs. Perry again, and I'm just wanting to go over the NTI packet number 5, the writing portion. You will be writing about penguins, so you're going to be writing an informational piece. So let's look at that foursquare first, and then I'm going to actually give you some material that you can use, so that way if you don't have any information based on penguins, okay? So we're going to write to tell us about what you know about penguins. Maybe this is not my favorite animal and I need some more help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload some information. I'm going to read it, and again, you can always go back, pause it, and play it when you want to. Now, the topic sentence that everyone is going to write for the very first sentence is right there in front of you. Penguins are flightless birds that live in the southern hemisphere. Of course, if you want to switch it around or change it, that's fine. But if you're having a hard time getting started, please use that topic sentence. Now let's look at the resources I'm giving you, so then that way you can write more information about a penguin. So let's look. Penguin power. Okay, we have cool creatures. Let's find out what makes penguins special. What is black and white and wet all over? A penguin going for a swim. Penguins are birds. They have feathers and lay eggs. Unlike most birds, penguins don't fly. That's a really interesting fact. Maybe you want to use that. They use their wings as flippers. Penguins flap their flippers to swim underwater. Their webbed feet help them steer. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. Maybe I want to use that as well. Kind of reminds me of using a car. Penguins look for food in the ocean. They use their beaks to catch prey. Prey is an animal that is eaten by another animal. Penguins eat fish, squid, and krill. I like that because that tells me what they eat. So krill are tiny animals that look like shrimp. So if you want to pause and write some of these down on your foursquare, that's great. This is getting your ideas together. Let's move on to the next page. Okay. So now let's look. On land, penguins walk with a waddle or a hop. They often slide on their bellies to travel over ice or snow. That's why they slide on their bellies. I thought they did it because they wanted to have fun. So that's an interesting fact. They use their flippers and feet to help them slide. Female penguins lay eggs on land. Both parents raise the chicks. The parents take turn finding foods in the ocean. They eat the food, then throw it up to feed the chicks. That's interesting. That lets me know how they're feeding their young ones. So here are all these interesting information that you can use in your foursquare. So let's do one more page. Okay, so the last page I have for you is penguins live in the southern hemisphere. We wrote that for our topic sentence. That is the part of the earth below the equator. The equator is the make-believe line around the center of the earth. Most penguins live in Antarctica, where it is cold. Some live near the equator, where it is warm. So let's look at this map. This is where penguins live. Okay, so they live on the continent Antarctica, and they sometimes live near the equator. So if you'll notice, they didn't say anything about living up north, the southern hemisphere. So now you've got plenty of information to get started. Now let's kind of go back and let's look at our foursquare. So again, we already know our topic sentence. Penguins are flightless birds that live in the southern hemisphere. What I'm really looking for in these foursquares is that you use transition words. So maybe first, penguins are flightless birds. We read that in that article. Maybe I want to add some more detail, so I'm going to show you. So first is my transition word. Penguins are flightless birds. I'm going to use that interesting fact that I saw earlier. They use their webbed feet to steer. That's very interesting. I'm trying to add as much detail as possible. So now moving on to the next box. So I want to use a transition word. I could even use second or next. So I'm going to use the word next. Penguins slide on their bellies to travel. I found that very interesting, that penguins slide on their bellies to travel. Sometimes, oh, let me go back. Sorry. So I want to dazzle it up and I'm going to add some more detail. Sometimes they waddle instead of sliding. Giving you some more facts. And again, you can use different facts like the ones that we read in that article. Now I'm going to use another transition word. I'm going to say finally. Finally, both parents take turns watching the baby. Notice how I use that transition word, finally. Now I'm going to add some more detail. Remember what I highlighted before where I told them where they eat the food and then they throw it back up so then that way their baby can eat? I'm going to add that right here. Both parents take turns watching the baby. To feed their baby, they throw it back up so they can eat. Interesting. Now, I don't want to introduce another interesting fact. I want to wrap it up. That's why it says wrap up sentence. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to let the reader know, I found penguins very interesting. I'm going to ask a question to kind of get the reader to think about it and maybe get more interested after reading this. So I found penguins very interesting. How will you, or let's back up, sorry. I'm just going to ask a simple question. Do you find penguins interesting? Okay. So again, remember, you're going to take your Foursquare, you're going to reread it, you're going to write it on your next page, you're going to make sure if you can dazzle it up, and then you're going to write it down and then reread to make sure you didn't miss any important parts. So I can't wait to see what you wrote. Let me know if you need any help.